Saludo, mi gente. Welcome to the House of Liberation. My name is Ya, and also known as Kohenet YA. And I just finished a Havdalah ritual. And one of the things that I was thinking about as I was doing the Havdalah ritual, just in case, Havdalah is the ritual that closes the Shabbat, the Jewish Shabbat, which is from Friday night to Saturday night. And it's like Saturday when the sun sets on a Saturday and the stars are twinkling in the sky, then we know that the portal of a time of rest has closed. And so there's rituals, all different types of rituals to hold that container of closing. And this is all about energetics, right? Like when you open a portal in a container and then you want to close it, or when it comes the time, it's necessary to close it in order to kind of like maintain the essence of that energy in its fullness. And it got me thinking about when I was actually like in the middle of the ritual, just the ways in which we have so much moving and so much happening in our lives, just in so many levels, right? So like there's so much change. And if you haven't, it's like the things you neglected are coming to the forefront, and or you're feeling yourself a little differently. Now, we just had the full moon in Gemini, which full moons are about completions. They're about like the thank yous of the intention setting that happen in the new moon if you follow the cycles. If you don't, then to each his own, but there's a beauty in it. Having said that, what I was thinking about was this idea of like when we're closing a portal of time or a season in our lives in which we have been a different aspect of ourselves more fully embodied. And that's kind of the idea of Havdalah, right? It's like, okay, Shabbat, this sacred time of rest has finished in terms of like its portal. And now we're going to close it because we're going to enter into a different embodiment, a different sense of being, because then now everything the week is coming at you tomorrow, Sunday, Monday, etc. And I was thinking about what it looks like to really commit to protecting and maintaining the ways that you meet yourself when you're relaxed. So now bear with me. This particular week's parasha portion, which is the weekly Torah reading, it runs on a schedule. It's really dope because you get through the whole Torah, you get through the stories from the first like main books, and then you start the cycle again. And it really allows you to get deeper and deeper into relationship with the text, even if you're looking at it through different dimensions. And you are both deconstructing and also constructing something new out of what you've read or what you studied. And so this week's parasha portion was actually about Jacob and Esau, this long story. It's like the real housewives of the Torah, but not the housewives. It's like, the brothers of the Mediterranean, because they're getting back together. But before they do that, because they have all this childhood narrative happening, they're making assumptions. They haven't seen each other for a long time. There's a lot of things that had happened. And so as they're coming back, it's like a really dramatic scene from a play or a movie where that they're like, I don't know you now. I knew you when you were a kid, but not so much now. So I don't know if you're coming, because they let Jacob know, the one brother, that his brother was coming with however many men. And so, he doesn't know if it's going to be safe or not. It's really dramatic. And having said that, I was looking at the arc of the story, right? Or the metaphor that's possible in that story. And for me, it was around the idea that this family, right? There's a history there. It's two brothers. But for me, I wanted to remove it from some of that context to the idea that because it was a family, because there's an overarching story in here, right? That's like the arc of the story. This family, these people, go broad, go however you need to go. But that the meeting of these brothers and choosing to still, connect, to still engage each other, to still be brothers, to still want to access love and that fealty to family above all things, above the stories that they had, above the interactions that they had. And it reminded me of the idea when you meet yourself, parts of yourself that you have had to exile, or that you were taught to perceive as weakness, or that there was something wrong with you because you didn't operate how, fill in the blank, right? Whatever the story is, there's a part of you that you've learned to reject, you've learned to abandon, you've learned to turn an eye, like look away from, because either it's too soft in a world that's so jagged for you, or the opposite, because there's pieces of you that are so fierce that they became a threat to others. And so you rejected those pieces of yourself. And one of the inquiries in the ritual that I was co-facilitating with others, right, like we co-create, was the question of what part of you, when you're at ease, when you're happy, when you're in joy, and in this particular like context, what part of you that you are in Shabbat when you're resting, do you want to take with you to the rest of the week? Like reintegrate, remember your pieces, bring yourself back together, that despite the parts of you that you may have challenge with, or excuse me, aspects of your reality or your experiences that you don't like who you became in there, right? But that now when you're in a better place, you can reintegrate, because no longer does that part of you present a threat. And that the choosing to love yourself and to take that love with you wherever you go is one of the most powerful acts, because it is also the place, like the genesis of you knowing how to engage in loving others and being with others, right? Being with the not great parts of themselves if they're in relationship with, right? Doing the work around that. And so I wanted to share that because I think that when you're so used to rejecting and abandoning yourself, when you come to places where you're having a good time and when you feel like rested or like you're really like in a chill zone, who you are there, right? Whether you're funnier, whether you're much more creative, whether like you're an entirely different experience because you're able to feel rest or ease. Taking that peace with you and protecting it and maintaining it during the rest of your week or the rest of, right? This is what you would set an intention toward. What is your intention toward the week coming in? And whether or not you subscribe to spirituality or you subscribe to religion or whatever the case may be for you, that's a personal choice. But the question to me always is, what do you want to take with you every day that you're going to have to practice caring for? And maybe it's a small seed, maybe it's a small aspect of yourself that you saw, like how, how funny you can be when you're not stressed out or in a rush, or how you like to really pitter and patter, like before doing anything else. And there's something about doing that kind of like that meandering feeling where you're just, adjusting and taking your time and you're just really lackadaisical, you're chill about it. How can you take some of that into the rest of your week so that you can remember yourself in a bigger way, right? Like nourishing those aspects of yourself. Because when you do that and then you protect that, so what does that look like to protect it? Does it look like taking a part of your day and doing something that reminds you of that feeling that you get to experience when you're rested and chilling, right? Or maybe it's the puzzle that you put together or the art piece that you create. Who are you when you're feeling most full, when you're feeling most joy? And how can you water that throughout the week so that you can put back in the cup that's pouring out at a speed that's hard to refill in the same similitude. So I hope that this was beneficial and has allowed you to think about what it means to reintegrate and what it means to bring those pieces of yourself back together in a way that you are no longer living in rejection of it and you're willing to let go of the old stories about it, right? About your tears being weakness, or about, you being too much of anything, but that in this feeling, those things about you are actually enormously beautiful, sacred, and worth keeping and protecting and nourishing. So blessings to you. I love you. And I hope you have an amazing week. And I'll talk to you soon again. Bye.